So the other day I got this itch to try out BetterMinecraft. I started playing, trying to figure things out, when I heard a big crashing sound. So I followed the noise to see what was happening, and somehow met other people moving towards the sound. We climbed a hill, and there we met some survivors that told us that they'd been in a plane crash, but that they were fine. We then realized that we were actually playing on a server called Northern Lights, and that we were all content creators. Coincidences, am I right? So we just started Minecrafting as usual, punching trees, harvesting stone, all of that stuff. We met some adorable new animals like this hairy emo cow and discovered some very cool biomes where I decided to settle. So I hollowed out one of these big pumpkins, put a door in front, and got my very own starter house. I then thought I could go pay a visit to my neighbor who, it turns out, might not have been ready to welcome me in the neighborhood. So instead, I met up with my new friends to go on an adventure to explore the world around us. But for that, we needed backpacks. And for backpacks, we needed some string and rabbit hide. The string was easy to get, so I made sure to get as much as possible, just to be sure. Rabbit hide was a bit harder to come by, so we ended up launching our expedition anyways, and get it along the way. Adventuring was fun, but sometimes a bit weird, like at some point I got kissed by a random catfish that was passing by, but we eventually decided to go full murder hobo and pillage some pillagers. It was all going well until they summoned some cute little baby creepers. Turns out, these little buggers are quite scary, so we thought we could use some help of our own. We released an iron golem to take care of the pillagers, and with that distraction, we could easily take out the rest of those mean, angry dudes and loot their homes. And I survived the entire attack, no matter what anyone says. I did learn a few things while adventuring though. For example, I learned that killing a rabbit in a flower field is a very strange feeling. And it's harder than you would think, no matter how big the bunny actually is. I also learned that there is such a thing as a Princess Leia sheep, and that these ones fight back. But eventually our adventure had to come to an end, and we started heading back home. On the way back, I met my new best friend, but that friendship didn't last as long as it should have. See, I met this bear that really didn't want to be pet, and when I went back to gather my stuff, the bear was still there, and the dog was not. So I didn't stick around, but I'll be back. It was sad, but I had a very good consolation. I was finally able to make my own backpack. Check it out, I look so cool, I'm a real adventurer now. Just getting a backpack, it doesn't feel like it's enough for my first modded episode, so I thought I'd do some community stuff. And I'm gonna work on a villager breeder right here in this gigantic pumpkin patch. And I got super lucky, I got some great server mates. Mini Wheats and Callie brought me some villagers already, and now that I'm mentioning their names, I kinda realized I never really introduced the other server members, did I? Dang it, let's do a little intermission. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are on the second season of the Northern Lights server. First season was in vanilla, and there were 3 active content creator players, Mr. Frogger, Mini Wheats, and Callie. There were also a few non-content creator players, including Just a Guy, that's his real name, who's been very active this season. And for the second season, they decided to try some modded Minecraft, so we have BetterMinecraft and CREATE, which so far have been really fun to play with. So for that season, they decided to open the server to a few newcomers, which is how we got Rosie, aka Pyro Martin, and me. By the way, I really do that, but if you're new to the channel and you like what you see, please subscribe and leave a like, it'll be super appreciated. Oh, and of course, everyone's info is in the description, so go ahead and check everyone out, everyone's wonderful. Back to the episode. So yeah, Minnie and Callie brought me some villagers, so we got 3 I think that they brought me. We can look on the minimap, yes, there's one here, one there, and one there. Awesome, we got 3 villagers, we can start a villager breeder for the group. Perfect. And the villager breeder is done, as well as the job training place, the price lowering place, the turning them back into real villagers place, and the releasing them into the wild area. It's all done. thing is, it's like the most vanilla thing I've ever done, so I'm not really gonna show that in a modded video. Instead, I'm gonna make a minigame with Create mod. So it's all gonna start with a water wheel. If we put some water here, it's gonna start spinning, as expected. And then if we make a floor out of conveyor belts, we add a few big cogwheels all around the place here, and we link it to the shaft of the water wheel. We get the best possible floor for a PvP arena. Although it could be slightly improved by making it go a lot faster. But still, that's not enough. We can remove this shaft here, replace it with a gear shift, and then, if we power it, it switches direction. Let's look at it from above, it's gonna be easier to see. There we go, that's even better. But we can add more. Like, for example, we could run a line from here all the way up to here through this gearbox. We're gonna get back to that one later. We could place a mechanical piston on top here and link it to that shaft down here, and it does nothing yet because we need to add some piston extension poles. Words are hard this morning, sorry about that. So if we add a few behind it, we get a super long piston. We could make it, if we wanted, as long as the entire battlefield. Then we could make the piston sticky. And if my calculations are correct, we could add those linear chassis all the way across here. We're not gonna add them all, but just a few like that. And if we flick the piston, the lever, it extends all the way. Well, it's gonna extend all the way across the battlefield. Look at it go. It's gonna just swoop all the players. They're gonna have to jump over it. It's gonna make it even more difficult, even more chaotic. I love it. All I have to figure out now is a way to retract it when it reaches the end. So when it reaches the end, it needs to unpower the gearbox, and when it reaches this end, it needs to repower it. I said gearbox, gear shift, same thing, different words. You know what I mean. So yeah, it should just be some redstone circuitry, so it shouldn't be too hard to do. Look at it go. It's going towards the end, and then it's gonna come back. Look at that. It's coming back now. That's perfect. Working as intended. And when it reaches the end over here, I'm gonna have to jump over it. Oh, I can stand on it. I'm gonna have to do something about that. But yeah, it reached the end there, and it switched directions. So it's super simple when it fully retracts or when it's fully extended. The block gets powered by this torch, which then powers this redstone dust line, which activates this circuit here, so it's a toggleable circuit. So whenever it gets powered, the state of this repeater changes. So basically it sends power, or it doesn't send power, to the gear shift here. And it works like magic. I really like it. But as I said, if players can just stand on it, it really just defeats the purpose. I want them to have to jump over it. So I think the solution is to add even more stuff flying around. So we can see here, we'll see it on the way back. If I jump on it, we got this beam pushing me off, and I just put 2 of those just for fun, just for kicks and giggles, as they say. So yeah, that's very cool. Now all that's left to do is make this randomized, because I don't want to just have to flick a lever every time I want the conveyor belts to switch directions. And I have to make the room a tiny bit prettier than it is currently, because, well, it's pretty ugly. Did I mention the game would involve lava? Because yeah, there's a lot of lava in the game, just to add a bit of danger to an already pretty deadly game. So I made the room look a lot better than it did before. I took a very dark block palette because, well, it fits in with the theme of the game, and I had a lot of that soapstone, so I thought might as well just use it. And we can look at it in action. Look at that. Got the little arms flying across the place, and the conveyor belts that randomly switch directions. I also added a little, you might have heard it, a little doom doom that plays, so there's 2 note blocks that play right before it switches direction. Just as a little warning for the players, just so that they know when it's gonna switch. It plays like half a second before it actually switches. And we can head up here. We're gonna have a better view from up here. But yeah, we have the respawning areas. Well, it's just a bed with some chests, of course. But that's where the players will respawn if they die in the game. And from here they can jump in and fight each other to death until they die and or burn. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a very fun game to play. I also changed the connections with the cogwheels here. They used to be in the middle, so I removed them just to have a bigger hole in the middle, and I connected them from the side. I think it looks a bit better, and it works a lot better. So yeah, that's what I did. So let's head downstairs just to see what has changed down here. So there's a whole lot of redstone now. And there's this little piston here that retracts this one little cogwheel that shuts everything down when it's pulled back. So when I flick the lever, it pushes it up and everything starts. I just thought I'd add something like that just to make sure that it can be turned off and that it won't cause lag or anything like that, other issues for my other server mates. So the randomizer, that's the entire thing here. That's all the randomizer. So this here is the toggle circuit that I used back here, over there. That's the same circuit. I used it again here. That's what controls the direction of that gear shift, whether it's powered or not. And it will change direction whenever this block is powered, which will happen when this little circuit here reaches a power level of 15. So basically how it works, we got a randomizer here. It works on a clock, so every few ticks, it will, the dropper will send one of these items into the hopper. It will output a certain redstone power value, which will then be added to that little memory circuit, and when it reaches 15, as I said, it switches direction, it plays the little doom doom, and it resets back to 0, so it starts accumulating power over time. After that, it can start again. So the reason I use a system like that, instead of just connecting the randomizer to the toggle here and just toggle it whenever the shovel gets picked, is that with a system, if it had been like that, it could have switched twice in a row, and I wouldn't have wanted that. Like half a second between switches, it would have been a bit messy. And other problem, exactly the opposite, it could have taken a very long time until it switches, because it's just random. So now, since it accumulates power, the variation is just how much it will increase, but it will always increase. Like every cycle of this little clock here will increase the power. Just depends on, it just depends what value will be added. So it limits the amount of time between switchings. So it's between 5 cycles and 15 cycles. That's when it's gonna switch. So it takes around 4 seconds to switch every time, somewhere around that, but it's never the exact same time. It really depends on what items get used here. So yeah, I just thought I'd mention why I used a system like that. I think it's important to understand the different types of randomization in a minigame and to see what each type brings and when you should use what type. So now all we need to do is wait for our friends to come by and try out this game. Welcome to the Deadly Donut.
Woo!
Are you excited to get a taste of the Deadly Donut?
Sure. Yeah.
Awesome. Follow me.
Oh,
Oh,
she
no.
wiped him out of existence.
Oh, looks like you won. Thank you for joining me on my first minigame on the server.
Woo!
Yeah, it was fun.
Yay!
It was awesome.
Congrats
Fun.
to
Thank you.
Callie for being the champ here, I think.
Yeah, she was kind of the
Yep.
ultimate champ.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you,
I got
thank
the coward title, the one who runs away from every fight, I guess. I
Battle
deserve that.
logging, yeah.
And on that note, that's how we're gonna end today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed. We're gonna do some more mini games with the Create mod. It's so much fun. So yeah, it's definitely like I got lots of ideas. That's gonna be so cool. So stick around if you want to see more of those. So on that note, yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a fantastic day. Bye.